Well, it's very hot. Hence, Asturias Leyenda. Leyenda, more appropriately. Asturias was added later, I believe. I think it was called Leyenda to begin with, by Isaac Albéniz, legendary Spanish composer of mainly piano music, from what I understand, but who was interpreted on the guitar very importantly. Give me a minute. I'm back. Okay, what am I doing? Well, as it's so hot, I thought to give my brain a break, we could have a look at some probably not that complicated music. Well, just why is everyone so crazed about Lorde is my question. Now, obviously they weren't so crazed about Lorde's previous album, Solar Power, with the iconic, I guess, album cover. I think overall, the music-wise, people thought it was a step down from Melodrama. For me, Melodrama is not that interesting. I don't think there's much on Melodrama that I care for. I just don't think the approach is very exciting to music. But it's certainly struck a chord with people. And it seems like this most recent one has struck a chord too. So we'll have a look at this, I guess, today. But what's this? This is not Spotify. No, I've moved over to Qobuz. Now, Qobuz, for some reason, always says a new update is available downloading up at the top here, which is a little bit disconcerting. But the thing about Qobuz is that it's meant to have high-res audio, high-quality audio, 24-bit, okay, 44.1 kilohertz. But there are things on here that go up to 192,000 hertz, which is very exciting for anyone who works in audio. You can't necessarily hear the difference. But realistically, there must be a difference in how it hits your ears, right? If you're constantly listening to low quality audio, even if it sounds fine to you, your ears are probably getting compromised in some way. That's how I sort of feel about it. I don't think there's much research into that. I don't think there's any evidence into that. But, more people have tinnitus than ever did. What causes that? Probably just a general loud environment in their lives, plus maybe overdoing it at gigs and going to clubs, things like that, where there's absolutely always 100 decibels plus, that can't necessarily help, can it? But anyway, regardless of my own conspiracies, let's try and embrace this music now. I will need to level it to some degree to begin with. Let's just play, see what... Oh. Where is that playing out of? I think it's playing out of my laptop, which is something I need to change. No, it should be, yeah, it should be through the speakers, never duo, but that's definitely not happening, is it? Because it's not coming through the front. That's weird. That's definitely coming through my computer. How strange. Ah, is it because it's this? Yeah, okay, it has its own audio output. Wow. Impressive stuff. That's really incredibly useful, but sadly I won't be using it right now. Being able to choose a different audio output than the normal audio for the computer. How exciting. Also, I have no idea what this... Oh, play cue. Yeah, of course it does. Okay. Let's see if that's made a difference. Aha. Yes. Okay. It does sound quite nice, doesn't it? Let's just jump halfway in. Read it and tell me higher. Maybe down a tiny bit. Now I know you don't deal much in love and affection, but I really do think you can make an exception. It's a seems okay to me. All right. So let's start this properly then. Yeah. So I'm not expecting massively complicated things, but there might be something interesting to talk about production-wise. We'll see. There's a heat in the pavement. Okay, so that intro just around A's, this kind of opening the frequency spectrum kind of sound, like a wah pedal, with a softer just synth in the background. Two different sounds together, and they're sort of working together, but they are panning in different ways. The main one, the wah wah wah, is panning all over quite hectically. There's also a rhythm there that I didn't quite get to grips with the first time. Let's hear it again. It's fives, which is unexpected. It's a wah wah, two, and then wah 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 wah. See if you can hear that. Yeah, so the pan is really irregular. It's not just going left, right, and with a very nice, comfortable sweep. Sometimes it's in the right, sometimes it's in the left. And there, yeah, it goes up a bit. So from that A, it goes up to a sort of slightly sharp B. Wah, 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 wah. Almost feeling like a C. There's a heat in the pavement. Okay, I'm back down again for the beginning of this verse. Lorde is also starting on that A, and there's another paddy synth giving us the lower A. Mercury's raising, don't know if it's love or if it's ovulation. Okay. Also, I mean, quite striking artwork for this album, isn't there? This pelvis with what looks like, at first glance, some kind of my wife thought it was a radio. I sort of think it looks or like a slide, a camera slide, which has been just shoved up on a stick. But if you look closer, you see that that stick is a zip, and that gives the information that you need for the rest of it. It's just a belt buckle and some buttons, isn't it? So we've got some buttons at the top, a belt buckle and a zip, and then we've got those two little nubs that you get on jeans on the hips there. So yeah, it's powerful, but its main thing is that you sort of see it as something else before you see it as the reality. Maybe that's the same with the music too. Yeah, so we had ba da 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 ba da 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 da. So same thing repeated in the second bar, and then it goes da 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 da. So similar kind of rhythm in those second two bars, but different contour to the melody, going lower and then up a little bit and lower again. So kind of like an A, B, B1 kind of thing. Back again. Oh no, you mustn't do that. Oh, I really hope it's not going to keep doing that.
Everything looks like in there.
Right, let's go back again.
There's a heat in the pavement.
Recognizable.
My mercury's raising. Don't know if it's love or if it's ovulation.
Yeah, not exactly the same rhythm there, but it is similar. Oh, it was probably because I disconnected. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so we get da 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 when the others have been da 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 da. So they've had that first beat in there, but we take that out for both later ones, or if it's ovulation, right? So we miss those beats and more syncopated.
And you're holding a hammer, everything looks like in there.
And we keep on that lower level, we don't just repeat those 4 bars, so that's a nice touch.
The mist from the fountain is kissing my neck, the lick.
Okay, some tinkly synths coming in. They're not really tinkly, what are they? They're just like... Yeah, it's a quite impressively synthetic sound, but I can imagine things in real life making it, maybe if they're made of plastic and you're just like tapping on things. Yeah, just doing some sort of wild, it's not like an arpeggio, but it's just dancing around the chord.
Crystal is in my grip.
It's actually not dancing around the same chord, so then it's kind of that chord, and I think we've got some more A's in there. It would make sense. A has been somewhat our pedal all the way.
Crystal is in my grip. Anyone?
Oh no, some G. Let's just work out this chord sequence while I'm here.
Don't know if it's love or if it's ovulation. When you're holding a hammer, everything looks like in there. The mist from the fountain.
Okay, so it's A
the liquid crystal
to G,
in my grip. Anyone with a snake tongue,
F sharp minor,
and
and then it's to G again, but this time the G has a major 7 and a major 9. So it's not a complicated chord sequence, but I guess it's relatively unusual. You could think of it as like 5, 4, 3, 4, but realistically this seems like our root here. So we're 1 and flat 7, 6, flat 7, like that. And so yeah, it's that G chord has a lot of what does it have in there? What does it have in there?
In my grip, snake tongue.
Okay, so it's going up and down in fifths like that, I think. That tinkly thing. Doing something like that. Up an octave. Maybe up another octave. But anyway, so that's giving us, for this A chord, it gives us an extra B, and for the G chord, it gives us an extra 9, which was there in the second version, and 13 there. Is that the 13? Yeah. So they added 6, so it's like a 6/9 chord, I guess. And then when we get to the F sharp, get that 7th and the 11th. So it's really keeping to its own shape, really, but adding extra notes to each of those chords, different relationships with each of the chords, which is fun thing.
Anyone with a snake tongue, I'll show him the chambers of my heart.
Hi. It's pretty low. It's like a C sharp or a D, which is very low.
Now I know you don't deal much in love and affection,
third
but
verse.
I really do think there could be a connection.
Doesn't seem to have added much in this one.
Some days I'm a woman, some days I'm a man.
Okay, but the melody there doesn't just go down and stay down. This time, instead of da 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 da, it's going da 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 da. Is it something like that? Let's hear it again.
Some days I'm action, I burn and I sing and I scheme and I dance. Some days I'm a woman, some days I'm a man.
So yeah, so it, you know, our starting part around that A and B, it sticks there, and then it starts going up, something like that. Yeah. So it goes up sort of by step through the scale, finishing on that E. We have a few more complexities like da 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 da, and then da 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 da, which are not quite the same thing. But that's nicely adding that sharp 11 to the G chord as well, making it quite a complicated G chord.
Oh, I might have been born again. I'm ready to feel like I don't have the answers.
So in this section we've added a piano and we've taken out most of the synthesizers. The only thing that's still there is that kind of tinkly thing. Okay, and the piano is just giving us some pretty strong, straightforward, well-based chords, and we got into that with a going up into a one extra note higher. So we walked all the way up to that E, and then we go to the F sharp, even one higher.
This piece in the madness over our heads, let it carry me.
Okay, similar kind of thing with that bit of melody, right? Walking up the scale. Something like that. Really shooting up all of a sudden to the C sharp. Yeah. All on the offbeats as well, so it's like 1, 2, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Something like that. Not quite that, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Something like that. Yeah, I'm not counting it right, but that's the basic concept. And then the melody before that was doing slightly different shapes to what was normal, but we still have that kind of da 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 kind of rhythm, which is, I guess, like the 5 at the beginning, da da which was, I think, leading with the 2, da 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 da, like that. But the da 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 is basically 5, just reversed.
My head's let it carry me
Okay, and then it's taking off. Yeah, so I guess the mistake I made there counting was that I didn't think of the carry me at the beginning. Carry me and that makes everything make more sense. Nice and syncopated, but with the carry me on the beat. Okay, so what's changing in this next section? Do we keep the piano? No piano, just synthesizers, and now finally some drums. Yeah. Got that wah kind of thing going on, but it's quite altered, so it's not quite as bright or aggressive, distorted kind of sound. It's more of a wah wah. And it's more out of time as well, which is interesting. It sort of feels like it's just missing every beat. But we've got that bum bum ba bum bum ba bum ba ba bum bum ba rhythm, a classic dancey rhythm, keeping the same chord sequence, it seems. We don't seem to have much of a melody here, other than the Lorde occasionally going where is it? Different one. So that's the highest note yet. Just thrown in at the end of. Well, it's not a chorus really, is it? It's maybe a dance section. I don't know. It's like a build up and then a release into this louder section. Yeah, what would you call it? If you have any ideas, let me know, because for some reason I can't think of anything that's appropriate. Hook maybe, but yeah, doesn't really feel like a hook. So the drums, there's not actually that much drum going on in this section. We've got I think in 3s, something like that. Maybe with 2 2s at the end, like that. And then we've got bum 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 underneath with the kick drum, and that seems to be most of what we've got. Yeah, occasional ba da da on the snare, all very electronic. Yeah, snare coming in every 2 bars, I guess.
Go to Canal Street, they're piercing my ears. I'm making a wish when the needle goes in.
Okay, another verse, similar to the first one, but a different texture. We haven't got any of the things from the beginning, really. We've got one synth that feels quite like the pad that we had in the first verse, but we've also got that from the bass synth, and the kick drum as well. That other synth is a big textural difference to the other 2 things. Okay, so there we filled in that blank open space. I don't want to say blank space. After everything feels like a new. It's basically 8 beats of nonsense, of nothing.
You don't deal much in love and affection, but I really do think you could make an exception. It's a beautiful life, so I
think I didn't start.
Read it and tell me who I am.
Here it is. 1. Yeah, so basically that extra bar at the end, which is mostly empty from the main melody, has that show me how I am in there, which works pretty well, doesn't it? Just to fill in the gap and give a different version of the voice as well. I guess we've got this lower voice Lorde and we've got the higher one, and those don't feel like they're absolutely the same person, do they? I mean, they are, but it's a very different way of singing, and it conveys a kind of different character.
You don't deal much in love and affection, but I really do think you can make an exception.
Not sure, less emotional maybe.
I played truant, I took tears and they...
This part of the verse, which you could argue is like the 5th verse if you like, but either way, it's built on the previous section quite a lot. It's very hot today. That's what I'm blaming things on. It is built on what came before quite strongly. So we've not just got everything that we have before, we've also got the wah 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 back in again. And what else?
Affection, but I really do think you can...
Yeah, we've got those tinklies again. Yeah.
Make an exception. It's a beautiful life, so I played truant. I took tears and they played me to...
So again, this one, like the 3rd verse, is going higher. It doesn't quite walk up like the previous one, which had a da 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 da, something like that. Da, da, da. But it has that later part. Da, 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 da.
I might have been born again.
There's the piano again.
Ready to feel like
Yeah, so this texture, there's less there than there was just before. A lot of the synths have disappeared. We've still got the bass drum kicking us through the door. We've got that piano, we've got the tinkly synth as well, and we've got Lorde.
and I'm ready to feel like
Okay, we do have the bass, but it's not giving us that rhythm anymore. It's going ba 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 ba, just building through those first few beats of the bar.
I don't have the answers. There's peace in the madness. Over our heads, let it carry me.
Okay, a drop out from the drums on that last bar. Well, 2 bars if we want. Like it's either going at this speed, which would be an appropriate dance speed, or it's going like this, which would be too slow. So that last 2 bars, let's say the drums drop out as we get that jump up again. The is a kind of interesting interval. I mean, it's all diatonic, but it's an augmented 4th jump. Or really, yeah, no, it is an augmented 4th. And then it just comes down 1. But the augmented 4th is kind of an unusual interval to come across in most contexts. And this is one where it's kind of unusual. The other thing that was changed through that last 2 bars is the bass went from ba da 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 kind of thing to going ba 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 ba, and building all the way through to a climax as we hit the next section. Yeah, the rhythm of the word is so weird in this section. That's quite a fun thing. This doesn't feel massively bigger than the previous time. There's a little more percussion, so instead of just the bump 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 and the chick 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 chick, we've got a kind of bump to bump to bump bump to bump to bump kind of thing. So there's a little instrumentally, as far as I can tell. Oh, it's disconnected again. Is it? No. Weird. Interesting there that it dropped out for those last 2 bars again, or most things dropped out. Let's see what dropped out. Yeah, so extra drums. The only thing that carried on was the kick drum and a synth going in the same speed. Ba, 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 da. And then that leaves space for the So I think sometimes it's going from the F and sometimes it's going from the E. Okay, got a bit of piano in here. It's very electronic sounding, but it's giving us a sort of extra melody around this kind of area. Quite fun repetitions there. Something like that, isn't it? Let's hear it again. Yeah, so they're occurring in the same place in the bar, so it's 1, 2, 3, da, da, da. Oh well, in the appropriate half bar place, I guess, repeating every half bar, and then they're keeping that same 2 notes down there, and then is the first one, the second one going up 1 more, and then the third one going up 1 more, and then that fits with the that goes afterwards. I'm very dry today. Not that that will make much difference. Give me a zing. Okay, lots more snare just there, but it's all very mellow, isn't it? There's nothing really aggressive. You know, more intense place. Yes, I see. So I knock the does make sense. Although I would have hoped that this cable would last longer than it has. Never mind. Okay, so this is a little more aggressive, isn't it? What would this be? I guess this is kind of like a, you know, a coda, like a, you know, it's a post-chorus. Yeah, we've basically got the stuff from the chorus with a bit more textural interest as well, and then we've got a new melody over the top, which sort of sounds a bit like the beginning one. It's in lower Lorde, da 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 da. Although it's in octaves actually, but the lower one is much more dominant. And we've still got that over the top as well, so we've got 2 different melodies going on there. We haven't got the piano here, I think. Yeah, if it is there, it's very buried. But we've got snare now on the offbeats. Happened. Okay, let's. Okay. Let's hope that that sticks. And interestingly, this also tells me that this speaker setup is capable of doing 24-bit and 192 kilohertz, which is really nice, because there's always a chance that you're routing things through a bad setup that won't be able to produce that kind of thing. Also, this says 16-bit. Why is it giving me 16-bit when it says 24-bit over there? That's definitely something I want to change. Yeah. Huh. Is it only one song that has 24-bit, or does it just lie? That's weird, isn't it? Maybe you have to buy the high quality. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into this. Anyways. Yeah, shall I maybe sit myself a bit high? Nope. Sit myself a bit higher so that you can see what's going on in the low part. I don't know. Doesn't seem massively interesting, but whatever. Okay. So we're nearly at the end. We've got a repetition of the chords, haven't we? It's still going the same way with the chords. The rhythm is still very much the same focus, but we've got that ba-da-da-da-da. And yeah, that offbeat, second and fourth beat snare drum, so we're getting bum, ba-da, bum, bum, ba-da, bum, bum, ba-da, bum, which feels very much more on than the rhythm that we had before, which still felt pretty on. And it just dissipates. We get kind of cheeky organ sound hiding behind everything else, and that wah 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 seems like it's going to go on, but that edge is right on the edge of everything, and then that all disappears and we fall over the edge. Something like that. Okay, and then as we're falling, we've got some of those tinkly sounds. That kind of thing. And we've got a bit of piano, have we? No, just... It's not an organ, is it? It's just a very fizzy synthesizer. And we've got, what sounded like piano, but is again just another synthesizer doing some longer notes in that higher range. And then the fizziness takes us out. Okay, I would say pretty low-key entry to an album. Comfortable. Some interesting things. But yeah, low-key.
A place in the city.
Okay, so it's similar kind of opening, isn't it? Womp 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 womp. Just one thing making a particular rhythm of one note. It's a little bit of fuzz on that first one. And then bum 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 bum. This is a classic 3s and 2s thing. Okay, so it's 4 3s. And then it's 2 2s. And all of that equals 16. 4 3s is 12, 2 2s is 4, 12 plus 6 plus 4 is 16. Okay, and so it fits very nicely in a normal 4/4, 1 2 3 4. Kind of like that. That was a little bit sloppy, but that's the idea.
A place in the city. A chair and a bed.
And we've got a really similar melody as well. So we're on C there instead of A. And the melody is that. Well, if we remember what the melody did in the previous song, it was on A. It was basically that. Yeah. And then we went, which is different, but we did the same melody. However, just in a different key. And there's one thing that changes that, really, and it's the bass note that comes in.
Place in the city.
Yeah, so hang on. That first bass note. O. An F.
A place in the city.
Followed by an A. Followed by a C. Followed by a G. Now, that F to begin with sounds quite odd. Especially with that A. It's not super odd. Everything can work together quite nicely. But it sounds quite somber, really. When it gets to the C and the G, suddenly we're not quite so somber.
I cover up all the mirrors, I can't see myself yet.
There's another maybe guitar, but they're a little bit fuzzed out. And they're doing thirds. Up to there, and then when this one goes back to there, I think it goes to F.
See myself yet.
Oh no, it goes to G. It does go to G. Interesting. Does the other one go to G?
See myself yet.
No, it doesn't. Interesting. So our first sequence is actually pretty straightforward. You could think 4, 6, 1, 5 are 4 favourite chords. And then the next time we do it in thirds to begin with, and the chords work exactly the same way for those first 3 chords. And then we get this chord. Now that is kind of a G chord. We've got a D in the bass, which is unexpected, alongside that C in the bass. So we've got quite an unusual, what feels like a sus chord there. Also, the melody decides to go much lower this time.
Mirrors, I can't see myself yet.
See myself, yeah. All the way down from that E. See myself, yeah. Down to this D. Quite a big change in one phrase to go from the ah to ah. You know, broadly descending melodic phrases are seen as something that you know, conveys a sadness or a giving up to some degree, or just a calmness. But yeah, going from that da 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 passionate kind of range to da 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 da. It does seem quite sad.
I wear smoke like a wedding fan.
Very different to this one.
Make a meal I won't eat.
And the thirds do a different thing there. So instead of going to there at the end, they go back as we might expect. So that's nice. But yeah, the melody is higher now and more impassioned. Seems to be something creeping in the background. What is that? What was that?
Make a meal I won't eat. Step out into the street, alone in a sea. It comes over me.
Interestingly, the melody doesn't feel as rhythmically grounded as the rhythm, as the bam 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 bam. That's really giving us the rhythmic ground, and then the melody is almost just doing the words as they deserve, I guess, doing the right space for each word, or at least what someone's interpretation of the right space for each word is. And yeah, it's the kind of strange upper, well, what, upper mid? It's not even really upper mid. It's around that C. Middle C coming through.
It comes over me, or I'm missing you.
And then yeah, everything drops out for this next section. Pre-chorus, maybe. We're sort of still in the higher range for Lorde, although we did come down at the previous section.
Yeah, I'm missing you.
So we've just got those low notes. And it kind of fades away early as well because it's got that fuzzy gate on it. So it comes through and then it quite quickly dissipates. And then an A.
And all the things we used
B.
to do. MDMA in the back garden.
Okay, so 3 different bass notes. And then we're into what sounds much more like a chorus, doesn't it? With, yeah, I don't know, Queens of the Stone Age level of appreciation of her casual drug taking.
In the back garden, blow our pupils up. We kissed for hours straight, but baby, what was that?
Yeah, so we've gone back to our main chord sequence. I think, although it actually might be the middle 2 switched round.
Blow our pupils up. We kissed for hours straight, but baby, what was?
We've got a similar kind of relationship with thirds, but they are more spread, I think, most of the time here. There, they're close together, and then they're spread there. And we've got a different rhythm. It's no longer down, 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 down. But it is 2, 3, 4, 1. So what's that? That's like a 1 and 2. So and 2 and 2, and then yeah. So and 2 E, yeah, and 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and yeah, that's the basic idea. No, and 2 and there it is, and 2 and. Okay, so it's more interesting, more irregular a rhythm than the previous one, and less of a grounding force, because it doesn't have a 1 in it, and actually most of it is off the beat, isn't it?
Triple baby, what was that?
So it's up to Lorde to give us the main beats here, and that's what happens.
We used to MDMA in the back garden, blow our pupils up.
It's actually not. We're missing the first beat there. MDMA in the back garden, blow our pupils up. And we missed the next one too. And the ba-da-da is just before the beat as well. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So the da comes just before the beat goes down. But you feel it nonetheless, even though it's not actually there. You feel the beat joining these things together.
We kissed for hours straight, but baby, what was that?
And there she does go more onto the beats for baby, what was that? So that gives us a new ending to a similar phrase the second time.
I remember saying then, this is the best cigarette of my life. Well, I want you just like that.
I did not like that. I thought best cigarette of my life felt a little bit forced. Did not feel like the words flowed very nicely there.
This is the best cigarette of my life. Well,
By itself it's okay. I think with the previous bit,
what's up? We kissed for hours straight, but baby,
this is fine.
what was
No.
that? I remember saying then, this is the best cigarette of my life.
yeah,
Well,
that cigarette of my life, the of my doesn't fit very nicely with the bam, because it's sort of what, regret of my life. I don't know. That's more complicated rhythmic relationships than I can make sense of. But the underlying thing there is that I thought it sounded a bit ragged.
I want you just like that.
Want you just like that is a repetition of the previous one, isn't it? With the on the beat rhythm, which admittedly is not that on the beat. Da da is on the beat. Want is on the beat, and then we go up for the syncopations, but the easier syncopations of da 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 da. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about those syncopations, isn't there, that just makes you want to move.
Into your hands, we're in a sandstorm and it knocks me.
Okay, so this has just added one more synthesizer in there. Just to go at the beginning, give us that first beat. But interestingly, it has quite a slow attack, so it doesn't feel like it's ba. It's at the beginning.
Storm and it knocks me out. I didn't know.
So it almost feels a little late. It's a to get to its full thing happens after the beat is meant to have come. So it's a little bit dysregulating, discombobulating.
Then that you'll never be enough. Oh, since I was
Little
17,
variation on the melody
I
there.
gave you everything. Now we wake from a dream. Well, baby, what was that?
Okay, drop out for the what was that? I don't like dropouts. I'm fed up of them. Please stop doing them, everybody. But there was a couple of extra notes that came in, and they weren't quite. They weren't quite what you'd expect, but I can't be bothered to go over them because it's such a small detail. But the point is, instead of just thirds there, we were getting something that was an extra note to harmonise with the previous things. What comes in the next part then?
What was that?
It's like the Nintendo Nintendo DS blowing up balloons sound, but very morphed through a distortion. I mean, that's no doubt not what it is, but that really distorted but squeaky kind of sound to give us a melody in this section. And drums and things have come in, haven't they?
What was that?
Constant semi-quaver hi-hats. Boom, ba, boom, boom, ba. It's not quite that. The drums are not as aggressive as that. Boom, da, boom, boom, da. Something like that. Yeah, the synth is actually doing more complicated rhythms than the drums. Yeah, it's really just like boom, da, boom, da, boom, da, boom, da. While we have the da 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 at the same time, but both of those things together give us boom da 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 boom da da boom da da boom ba da. Actually, yeah, they're still missing that third beat, which is fun. Da 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 da. There's nothing on that third beat apart from yeah. Shouter, what was that? Bit of piano? Yeah, okay. So now it feels like we really have like a D minor chord as that fourth chord. The second time round it comes. The first time it's F to A minor, C, those don't change. G is our one that changes. Second time we get those first three again, and then it feels like D minor. It didn't really feel like that the first time because we got an E and a G, which is an interesting choice.
What was that? Do you know you're still with me?
Okay, so back to the verse. A classic drop of texture for the verse. And, well, it's not dropped everything, has it? We've got the drums carrying on here, which would be a classic thing to continue on into the next section. So the drums are carrying on. Lovely. Let's carry on.
With me. When I'm out with
Got
my
back our dun 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 dun
I
dun
stare
dun
at
dun
their
dun.
painted faces that talk.
Yeah, so the melody here doesn't seem to be bound by a particular set of notes that it's trying to convey. It seems like it's just the notes and the rhythms serve the words, which is not the way round I like it.
Current affairs.
Yeah, so that's a little bit. We have had that order, but we spent so much time up here this time before going down. So it's different to the first
You
time.
had to know this.
Just a little bit of an extra production thing there.
Current affairs.
Just an extra thing to keep it exciting, fill that empty space.
You had to know this was happening. You weren't feeling my heat. When in
Got da-da coming in the drums now as well, which is fun.
light down, baby, so bright I face reality.
Reality. Interesting. No, it doesn't feel quite right, but just a different bit of melody than anything we've got before. And we kind of stop there, don't we?
I face reality. I tried to let
Okay, so now in this section, which was much sparser the first time, it was really just the long held notes with Lorde, and so we really felt that space between I try to let. Right here we don't have that at all because we've built on it instead of reducing it, and we've got I try to love. We've got that extra well, it's kind of counterpoint, you've got the two alternating things. It's arguably antiphonal.
whatever has to pass through me, pass through. But this is staying a while, I know.
Okay, but there, yeah, we only have a couple of moments, don't we, where we need that extra voice. Is that the same as the first time? Let's just have a listen.
Our pupils up, we kiss for
Just before
hours,
that,
straight
isn't it?
comes over me. Or I'm missing you. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
missing you.
this is pretty much a different section.
MDMA in the
That's interesting. So this is really a new section as opposed to a repetition of the pre-chorus before.
had to know this was happening. My face, reality.
Here it is.
I tried to let whatever has to pass through me, pass through. But
Yeah.
this is staying a while. I know it might not let me go.
I wonder why. It's sort of like, it just feels like a different chorus, doesn't it? Yeah, interesting build up there of just about 4 bars of no melody, just building. A lot of drums, and then that really, you really feel it in the right headphone. Suddenly there's just bass and nothing else. Yeah, just very oppressive, heavy bass sound. But then again, that could also be caused by everything just being in the left headphone. You know, you feel the imbalance quite heavily in your ears when that happens. So I don't know. But anyway, we've led into what is actually the chorus here, haven't we?
In the back garden,
Feels a bit thicker.
up. We kissed for hours straight. Well, baby, what was that? I remember saying then.
Yeah, mainly I would say we've got an extra synthesizer. I think that's the main thing, giving us a little bit of a higher range. That kind of area.
This is the best cigarette of my life. Well, I want you just like that. Into your hairs, we're in a sandstorm and it knocks me out.
Okay, we've got that squeaky, squeaky instrumental melody in the background now. So they're working together, kind of classic pop polyphony.
I didn't know then that you'd never be enough. Oh, since I was 17,
There it is again.
I gave you everything. Now we wake from a dream. Oh, baby, what was that?
Okay. And in this post-chorus instrumental, like what happened before, we've just continued that. We've just continued the with a bit of piano added in this bit, just to thicken it out, I guess, give it a new texture. There's maybe another synth added in this higher range, giving a brightness to this bit.
Was that?
Extra melody there. Doing something like that.
'Cause I want you just like that. Blue light I can make.
Okay, these feel like some Kate Bush vocals. They're running up that hill, dark, chorusy vocal octaves.
Blue light I can make it alright. What was that? Blue light I can make it alright.
Yeah, so there doesn't seem to be any artistry really to what's coming in when. It feels like these things are just made to be here on the end, just to fill this section, bringing it, bringing more to the ending of the song. So it's just this constant build with a little dip as we go down to the to the second verse, which both of these tracks have basically done. As we've been looking at Aurora recently quite a lot, she does the same. But what's interesting about those ones is that we generally get something after this second chorus that isn't just a proliferation of this second chorus. Here we haven't got any bridges. We've just got more chorus stuff. little thing in the right headphone there. And then, yeah, again, disappearing for the outro. Just got the drums, dum, ba, ba, da, ba, da, and the dung, 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 dung. Yeah, classic formulaic kind of way to make a song. No incredible performances so far. Lorde, I guess, she was successful from a very young age, and she has never really necessarily, I mean, I don't want to be so harsh, but how I feel is that she hasn't had to hone her craft, and she has relied on her instincts, which have got her very far. Good producers, or at least successful producers, and an audience who are particularly happy with her following her vision, and that's great. You know, more power to her, more power to them to empower her to do such things. But for me, it's very uninteresting. There's nothing there that I'm interested in this song, and that's a shame. I'm trying to think if there were something easy that could be added to this to make it interesting. Like, even if it was just a longer outro, not taking us only to the 3.5 minute mark, but like if you extended that outro for another minute and a half, I would think that was ambitious, even if it was boring as all hell, which it could easily be. But as it is, they're so cookie cutter. Take a rhythmic feature and another rhythmic feature, put them on top of each other at certain points, but not always. The only thing that was out of the ordinary here is that first pre-chorus, which doesn't match the second pre-chorus. That's kind of interesting, but the feeling doesn't answer the question, and a lot of the time the feeling in music does answer the question, like, why did we do this? Feels good, man. But here, the feeling is more confusion, at least for me. If you feel differently, please do let me know. I'd be interested to hear if there are people who are really, really vibing with that. And to be honest, there clearly are. Anyway, I also find the lyrical themes a little bit to be desired. The more to be desired, or whatever the phrase is. I would like some more of something. But actually, I haven't looked at them very deeply, so there's always a chance I'm missing something there. I'm not missing something in the music, though, I feel. Whatever. Anyway, moving on. Shapeshifter.
Chewing gum.
Interesting bear at the beginning. And the drums feel quite contained in a slightly interesting way, giving us a sort of drum and bass adjacent. I mean, that feels a little bit strong, but some quite exciting rhythms, something like that. It's not quite that. Maybe it's more like garage adjacent. It's different the second time, and the fourth time,
Chewing gum.
the fourth time it drops, so we can say chewing gum.
I know, don't know how to start.
And the rhythm carries on. Well, we get a long bass note. The bass sounds like it's actually a played bass, which is, I guess, unusual.
Taste that's in my throat, but the voice in my head says, do you have the stones?
What's that second bass note?
That's in my throat, but the voice in my head says.
Okay, so we start on A. This is actually probably the same chords as the previous song, just in a slightly different order, and a more generic order. And yeah, I don't know, long held note is kind of unusual texturally. Feels quite unusual to hear it trail off, which is nice. And the way that none of these instruments match each other in timbre is fun. Got the kind of sound of the bass, and then we've got those very tinny sounding drums, and then this I don't know, wide spectrum sound of the voice, because it's low but it's got lots of the high frequency in it as well. So they're all occupying a different part of the spectrum in an unusual way. Got no melody, and it sort of sounds like bad rapping because there's some very specific rhythm to the words.
Sour taste that's in my throat, but the voice in my head says.
It's in my throat, but the voice in my head says. Yeah, I've never liked it. I've never liked this kind of thing. I don't know what purpose it serves.
Do you have the stones?
Like, why don't you just go, do you have the stones? Or, do you have the stones? I don't know, as an example melody. Do you have the stones? Would that be worse? I guess having it as spoken or rapped gives emphasis to the words, whereas if it was melodic, you've got something else distracting from the words. So there's something in that. Do you have the stones? To me, feels so specific and rhythmic, and you have so much space between each of the words that the individual emphases become more important than the actual words themselves. So the rhythm, the complex rhythm, in the same way as the melody would take away from the words, the overt rhythm takes away from the words too.
When you get close enough, I let down my brakes.
It's Jaws. So that's just going to be an ostinato going between two different semitone interval notes, B and C. Two of our bass notes are B and C too, so it makes sense. It's all fitting very nicely in sort of A minor or C major.
And you climb up in my room, we can do anything you want.
Anything you want. So those were less clipped, weren't they? It wasn't, you don't have to stop, or do you have to stop? It was, you can do anything you want. So slightly, I guess, more actorly, perhaps. You can imagine Matthew McConaughey, for example, going, you can do anything you want. But even there would be less anything you want. It wouldn't be on the beat in the same kind of way. Be more free with it, Lord. You don't have to do it on the beat. You can give more character by being less quantized. Maybe that robotic character is part of it. Not for me, though. It doesn't work.
Everyone that I've slept with, all the pairs of hands I'm reckless.
Okay, so we've got more vocals now, and we've got those octaves. We've got a synth giving us some chords. We've still got that going on, and we've still got the bass and the drums going on. What's going on with the melody then here?
Everyone.
We had a different bass note, which was the D. Everyone. Just going, yeah, sort of the melody coming in ahead of the new section, if you like.
That I've slept with, all the pairs of hands I'm reckless.
Yeah, so with then repeat that melody pretty much. Just a little bit longer on that top note this time, but the happens in the same place in the bar.
If I'm fine without it, why gotta stop?
Okay. So that happens in octaves, and then we just get the top one with a particularly throaty kind of sound. We gotta stop, something like that. Very, very caught.
Why gotta stop?
Maybe it's not deliberate, but yeah, sounds different anyway. And these chords maybe feel like they're building a little bit. That G on B.
Everything I want.
A minus 7, we've definitely got that G in there somewhere. Everything. Working similarly to the previous one, but that was over a different chord, I think.
Speeding up my pulse. I don't sleep, don't dream at all. Giving nothing.
So we changed that melody a little bit to make it more similar to the second half.
Impersonal.
But then,
So I'm not affected.
but then the second half did something entirely different. So we've got a complex relationship between each of those bits of melody. That might be worth delving into.
I've been the
Okay, sudden textural change for whatever's coming next. Is this another verse, or is this a chorus, or is this something new?
I've been the eyes, I've been the flame.
We've got a different drum beat. It feels like it's kind of in the same place, but the textures are different. They feel more present, more close. Everything's very, very short and gated sounding, so the t just lasts for a millisecond, and then the snare similarly, pa! It's just pa! Whereas that contrasts very strongly with the held bass, which we've got again.
The eyes have been the flame. I've been the prize, the ball and chain.
Really, Lorde is very, very close there. Multi-tracked vocals just absolutely surrounding the ears. Bold.
I've been the ties, the magic game.
Got our same bloody chords again. Starting with C. And now it's in the most generic setup of those chords, which there's even a song about. Do you feel proud? Do you feel like non-committal or nonplussed? Does it actually not really matter to you that this relationship between melody and this progression of chords is so done? Even at this point, right? It's 2025, and the Axis of Awesome song was probably done in about 2008, something like that. No doubt they'd been working on it before that. So that's 17 years since that. 17 years since that. And still the most popular. Well, okay, let's just check general streaming numbers, shall we, for Lorde. Let's see what Spotify has. No, her album has just dropped, so it's going to be much higher than it would normally be, but let's have a look. Yeah, 33 million, and that puts her at number 142. Okay, so she's not right at the top. 142 is still pretty high. It's higher than 99% of other artists. And congratulations, but without looking at the stuff which is higher than her, which may even be more generic, why is it that we need to have, why is it that we feel there's any merit in having something that has such a basic feature that has already been rehashed by so many other people. Now, I can make one case for it that I can think, which is that if you're doing something that lots of other people are doing or have done, you think that you are doing it the best. You are doing it better than them, or at least you think you're adding something new to it. Right? Because if you don't think that, what motivation could you have for doing it that is laudable? That is the only laudable one I could imagine. Sorry, no pun intended there. The other obvious one is that it's a deliberate attempt to be popular, or to connect with the largest amount of people possible, which I don't think is laudable. I think that if you're trying to do that, you can do it via means that are not generic musically. People don't fundamentally like generic music. People are not robots that prefer AI created things that just fulfill that particular niche that they're looking for. The large proportion of people prefer some character to go with that. Lorde is a character. Lorde has her own very specific brand of humanity. So why then is it couched within inhuman, boring assimilation of basic things that can be done the same way by a computer? I don't know. It makes me sad. And hey, this one says high-res 24-bit. Great. Okay, so we have moved into the higher spectrum here. Don't know why Hammer wasn't. Getting back to what I was saying, I just think we can do better, and we don't need to go over old ground. And if you really think that you're doing it the best, explain how, because I can't see it. I would like to, at some point, go and find my favourite songs that use these basic chords, because there are lots that use even fewer. Blues music will only use the major ones, the primary colours. Maybe I should settle it down to only the ones that use the most generic set of the chords in the most generic order, and it'll be interesting to see which ones I like, because one, for example, that I kind of do like is Another Girl, Another Planet by the Only Ones, which goes boom in this key, where something like that. How can I swim me out? I don't care about it. I think I'm on another world with you. But then it does change it, doesn't it? It plays around with it. I guess this is playing around with it to some degree, because this is a different arrangement of the chords than was just before. It's just not enough for me. It's just not enough. Let's see if it becomes enough, because we've got 3 minutes left of this.
Chain, I've been hypnotized, magic, so I'm not affected.
One thing I can say is that she's not shy of the more musical notes in the scale. So in that scale of A minor, we have 2 pairs of semitonally related notes. Now, more generic melody writers avoid that relationship, because some of those can sound a little bit more, jarring, especially on certain chords. Like that. That doesn't sound very nice. Maybe it sounds okay there. It sounds quite hard there. Truthfully, those things are the most beautiful, aren't they? When we have that relation, they can be overused, and they can be used in contexts where they are really nasty, like, what could we do? Yeah, that's one of the classics, like, so you've got a major third and a minor third. It still happens, but it's quite uncomfortable. Yeah, so Lorde is quite happy to sing those notes, both the semitones, you know, in a scale like that. Da, da, da. We'll happily have that. Da, da, da. Both of those. We've had that as a, you know, a feature, haven't we? Through those chords. It's not here now, but we have had it in this song.
I've been the siren, been the saint. I've been the fruit that leaves a stain. I've been up on the pedestal.
The pedestal, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you could do a more generic version of that, and you could go, put up on the pedestal, something like that. And that would only be using the 2 and the 1, very unobjectionable interval, whereas the pedestal is at least going for the 7 to the 8, which is more uncomfortable.
But tonight
more beautiful.
I just wanna fall. Tonight
Okay, fun change of texture here with that cello or double bass going vum, 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 vum. It's interestingly textured itself, isn't it? The timbre of it, you can tell that it's a low bass string instrument and it's bowed, vum, vum, because it's got that sort of interesting intro attack. But it's also back in some strange acoustic which has cut off the higher frequencies of it. So it doesn't interfere with the main part of the track, which is all these tinny higher frequency things. It feels like its own space.
just wanna fall. It's tonight I just wanna fall. Mirror on a shirt.
Disappears for
I
the
see
next
a
time.
hot mess in an antique skirt, but the voice in my head says, don't let him leave.
We've actually got both drum parts layered over each other here. Gone back to the rhythmic speaking, which I hate. But
On a shirt, I see a hot mess in an antique skirt, but the voice in my head says, don't let him.
if we do, then they go together very, very comfortably. Really, the one from the beginning, I think, is just adding in little extra things which are almost unimportant in the texture, but they're just a little bit of extra rhythmic interest from moment to moment.
Leave alone.
Got that melodic counterpoint. Yeah.
I become hurricane, visions of
Extra melody in there. Ha 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 ha. Something like that.
a teenage innocence.
And they go over each other there terribly.
Visions of a teenage innocence.
So, firstly, the rhythms overlap in a weird way. So we get the we get that all on the offbeats, and then a teenage innocence, something like that, isn't it? Let's hear it again.
A teenage innocence.
Yeah, and so the first one hits that as she goes, and then it's so a teenage. They both hit that one at the same time, and then this goes up, and this goes here. Innocence. So they could be worse, but they cloud each other's clarity because they are close to each other and going at non-complementary rhythms. Like they're overlapping sometimes but not always. It's a really odd and uncomfortable feeling.
A teenage innocence. How'd I shift shape like that?
Moved that melody so now it's on the beginning of the bar rather than the later one, I think. Okay, so there's that early intro into this next section again, just like it happened the first time, but here kept a bit more of the texture. There was a dropout again. Feels like a big build here, doesn't it? Long held synths are getting louder and more present, and we've got more piano in there too.
I don't sleep, don't dream at all, giving nothing personal. So
Whoa, we've got the higher frequency. Maybe it's strings coming through.
I'm not affected. I've been the ice, I've been the flame.
Okay, so here this time we've come down quite considerably for this texture. Yeah. And we've just got those low strings, which don't feel quite as oppressive as they did first time. And we haven't got much else apart from drums. Maybe one synth in the background.
So I'm not affected. I've been the siren. I've been the fruit that shapeshifter.
So those melodies there, they line up a bit better, don't they? So they're the same notes, just an octave apart. Yeah, they still get to two notes next to each other, which is, yeah, I don't know, it's unwieldy.
I've been the fruit that
That the reason they don't really feel like they're getting in each other's way is because the feels uninterrupted by the other voice, so that seems to be holding da, and even though we do actually da 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 go up to that C just a little bit earlier, it's such a small note that it doesn't interrupt that higher one.
been up on a pedestal, but tonight I just wanna fall.
Oh, I think that was an awful drop there.
I just wanna fall.
Yeah, everything comes off too late on a minute setting. I've been doing a little bit of this, thinking about it recently, so there's a real sweet spot for these kinds of things, and really I think it should have come off, as she said, fall, but it comes off after the f, so we just get all by itself.
I just wanna fall.
And it also goes to only one voice when it's been two voices, right? Hang on, one more time.
But tonight I just wanna fall.
Yeah, so we get the f really strong from lots of different voices, and then oh, just by itself, just doesn't feel right. This is an interesting texture here though, isn't it? It's very war, but then the drums are really bright still.
Yeah, tonight I just wanna fall.
Alright, well if you like it, you can like it.
Yeah, tonight I just wanna fall. I'll kick you out and pull you in. Swear that you.
We've still got those cellos and, well, double basses. Vum, 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 but they're really, really underneath the kosh of that wallowy texture, that watery sounding kind of thing. so they're not hitting as hard as they did the first time they came in.
Just friends.
So this is another of these post-chorus extra melodies that are leading us out of the song.
And when it's all over again, say I'm not affected, I'll kick you out.
Okay, and just an extra build there. We do have a few high strings, I think, coming through from time to time, just at the end. They're not sticking around though, really. And then we've got that melody, kind of piano melody thing, and then we've got this that's just come in really strong. What is it? It's a synth. It's an electronic kind of buzzy sounding synth. The low end's really crackling around. Okay, and we've got some complicated counterpoint here between these two main melodies.
I'll kick you out.
But that is like what we had before, so that's not new. But the da 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 da. I don't know. Is that new? That's what we had just previous to this, isn't it? Okay, yeah, so they have well, that one is on the way down and sort of gets buried by the new one coming in over the top. Yeah, there is a higher string melody as well, in octaves, I think. Just going a little slower than the others, so it occupies its own textural space. So this is an example of quite a tasteful build. Say that advisedly, but I think, considering what we've seen already, the layers in here are pretty well connected and constructed. Yeah, I'm not a fan. And then it just comes in right at the end there of the other melody. Okay, this feels huge. The drums have changed here. Did they change earlier? No, so they're really swamped here, but I think that is to disguise the beat switch. Yeah, so when they come into this bit, this is a classic thing. Very different to what's happened in the previous. Well, I guess it's not tremendously different, but it's certainly a different groove. Just to kick off this outro. Yeah, it's just built on this outro the whole time, hasn't it? For the last maybe minute and a half. It's interesting, the different layers of the texture. We've got that which feels like it comes in and swamps just a little bit and then just leaves the bass. Then we've got the wateriness of most things, just wishy-washy in the background. Even the voice is somewhat in that layer. And then we've got these drums which are tight and propulsive and high frequency. It's an interesting set of things.
No, I'm not affected. But tonight I just wanna fall.
Dropping out, getting a little bit more spacey. We've got the carrying on there. Well, after absolutely roasting it to begin with, it did exactly what I asked for of the previous track, which has had a much longer outro with many more sections to it. I would say keep going longer. All right. I don't want to actually be really harsh with this kind of thing, but I feel like it should fall upon someone's shoulders to. I mean, it's not even as big as all that. I was going to say something about it being responsibility of someone to call it out, but it's more just people should be open and honest with what they actually like about music, shouldn't they? And people should be able to articulate what they like, and if they can articulate that, that's a reasonable thing to say. You know, it's not the same as this whole Charlie XCX furore about her using auto-tune. To be honest, I've not listened to it. It might well be a terrible performance for some other reasons, but I think knowing Charlie XCX's music, auto-tune doesn't seem like a really out there addition. It seems like something no one should be upset about unless they're just coming to her music fresh and in a Glastonbury rock context. Whatever, not important. It's not like that. It's just commenting on the actual things that are in the music, the musical things, formal music analysis, rather than whether things are morally correct or whether they are spiritually in line with a particular ethos or another ethos. This is more just, this thing does not work for me. I've listened to a lot of music. It always has some level of disappointment whenever I come across it, so I just don't want it. That's where I'm coming from. Anyway, carrying on. Man of the Year. Okay, lovely straightforward bass sound. Yeah, and then after one repetition, and then we go down to that low bass C. Straightforward 2 bars, right? Mainly 2 3 chords, so I guess what's that then? That's G. We have a very quick E before we go on to the B, and then the C. Okay, it sounds nice by itself, and then Lorde comes in.
Gliding through on my bike.
Kind of weird opening melody gambit on that G. Da. Yeah, an F sharp starting. So da, da, da. And it's just a descending, pretty much a descending scale after that. But the F sharp going with the G, when you've got no other context other than the notes we've just heard before. Okay, there might be a fire next door. Well, I think I'm okay, so I'm going to carry on.
Gliding through.
And then that much less of a interesting melody fragment. What's that? Da 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 da. Lord of the Rings. There's some nice music, but anyway, it doesn't feel like Lord of the Rings, does it? It's got the same notes, but it's using them in a quite different rhythmic manner. A little bit of a slight blues note there.
Like new from my.
So despite this being very, very dry mostly, there is a little bit of a reverb in the background which is a little bit of a shame. Like I think these things can stand by themselves, and the extra reverb, it's not adding that much for me. Okay, so that time. It's kind of interesting on the ego death there. But again, very low Lorde in this setting.
Sirens sing overnight.
So a repetition of the first thing. Yeah, and then it. And then what else does it do after that?
Violent, sweet music.
Same thing again. Second phrase.
You met me at a really strange time in my life.
But a different thing for that third phrase. Okay, again, changing the melody just to fit the words in a different way, I think. We are experiencing some interference on the audio thing, I think.
Take my knife and I cut the cord. My babe can't believe I've become someone else.
Okay, different melody here, but we're keeping the same bass, and we've got another guitar going in line with that, doing kind of thirds again.
Someone more.
Okay, that's nice. So we start with the G third there, the G and the B, which I'm struggling to get in tune. And then we get the unexpected D sharp there for the B. So that's going from a G major chord to a B major chord, which does happen. And then going to a C, which is an unexpected change, a interrupted cadence, if you like. Not really though.
Like myself.
Yeah. For the C after that though.
Who's gonna love me like this?
So, with any sense, the melody is going to avoid that D range when we have the D sharp on there, and that is so far what's happened. So that's going for that kind of place. Because that D sharp is not an in key note, so it has to be treated, at least in this idiom, I guess, it has to be treated with a lot of sensitivity to make sure that you don't get really clashy things coming up.
Me like this, let it flow down to me.
Isn't this interesting though, that this is such a small texture, and now we're a minute in, we haven't really had much build at all. We've added in a guitar, we've got a tiny bit of synth maybe in the background, and that reverb just giving us that open space rather than keeping everything as dry and acoustic as it would otherwise be.
Me like this, now I'm broken up.
Yeah, going from now I'm broken up, two different things. I don't know. I guess it fits the words there, doesn't it, to have that break. Big pause of almost silence there. And then, yeah, coming in maybe with another synth now. Oh, and a guitar in the background, a very distorted kind of wow, just giving us an extra bit of distortion, but it's hidden again behind a reverb, mostly a wet reverb sound rather than the dry sound of the guitar coming through.
I go about my day, acting it like a way.
Okay, well, never mind. We have had the false relation. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's probably unintentional, but if we regard it as intentional, it's quite an aggressive dissonance.
I go about my day, writing it like
It adds to maybe the slightly more blues associated play of this song. That's not really what I get from it. It doesn't feel very bluesy. But we have had a little bit of action on those thirds, and that's kind of what this would give you. But with the underneath it, yeah, I mean, it would happen in blues, but it just doesn't happen very often in this style of music.
go away, playing it any way I want. Switch mouthwash, jerk off.
I don't know.
Days go by in a haze, stay up and sleep.
Okay, a little bit. So there was a tinkle of the piano. It was very warm, sort of chorusy kind of synth. Not chorus of the effect, but an actual sounding chorus kind of sound. And then we've got percussion, vocal percussion.
Who's gonna love me like this?
And a sudden increase of power as we get that strong synth there, disrupting what has otherwise been pretty much a real instruments space. The only space we've had like that on the album really so far, but now we've got the electrics back.
Who could give me like this? Where he flowed down through me, love me like this. Now I'm broken open. Let's hear it for the man of the year.
So that time we didn't break up on Broken Up. Broken Up! It kept it going. Better than I can. Okay, and the synth textures are just getting bigger, but we haven't continued with that vocal percussion really.
Hear it for the man of the year.
So it is more of an ambient space. Yeah, we've got a little bit more of that kind of thing happening in the background with the synth.
How I hope that I remembered my
Okay, sudden change of texture with loud brashy drums coming in, and sudden stops in the synths. But we've gone a long way from where we began. I just don't think Lorde's voice fits here. It's really soft, even though it's more present. We haven't got like a real bitingness to it. It feels quite a mellow sound with this brash accompaniment. I'm not sure that works in the same way as it could. Okay, so a little bit of a difference chord-wise, just yeah. So we step up, so we don't just keep on the C as usual. We step it up to the D. First time we've heard that. Yeah. That kind of sounds like something steps down to B there, but I can't quite place it, so I'm going to assume it's not. Definitely we get that step down in the synth from F sharp to D, and then we go back to G. So we finally actually specifically said that G is our home with that perfect cadence. Yeah, a little bit more uncertain, those chords now, that it doesn't seem like everything is going to that D major space. Some things are going and some things are staying on C, I think. drums now are more stoppy, boom, da, dum, ba, whereas everything else is carrying on in the space.
Let's hear it for the man of the year.
Yeah, just a little bit of keeping on that C resonance, which has been our dominant chord the whole time. Just a little bit of crazy manipulation of sound, and then yeah, off. Well, okay. I don't know. Maybe it warms up. I think those two last tracks had some things that I really liked about them. Still had some big negatives, and well, the first track I didn't mind all that much. It was just very mellow, and then yeah, the second I just found a bit dull. I think that, yeah, I don't know. Lorde, at least in the past, has shown a certain amount of creativity and variety, so there may well be some of that through the rest of this album, but I haven't unearthed it here really. That last song, I guess, is different in some ways to the previous ones, but overall we're talking about the same textures in all of these songs, just used in slightly different ways. Same key relationships, a slight bit of extravagance with that D sharp in the B chord in that previous one. But yeah, we're not dealing with experimental music here, are we? We're doing something that is intended to be listened to by a wide variety of people. Not that things that are a smidgen experimental can't also be listened to by a large amount of people. I mean, take Billie Eilish for example. Her first album was crazy, but no doubt it was listened to by a large amount of people. So far, I think it's been her most successful album, so that's interesting. Anyway, up with exciting music and promoting music that actually is exciting. Have a good day. See you soon. Hope have a good life as well. Bye bye.